Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome to yet another Degrassi video and another poll video. We're going to be doing the top 10 most immature characters of Degrassi. I know that a lot of people say all the teen characters in Degrassi are immature in their own way, shape, or form, but these are 10 of them that actually were very ungrateful, if you will. All that. So, of course, I got a list of 20 of them and managed to get four groups of five. So using the four terms, like I put the next class and the Degrassi High eras together, and then I put Degrassi Next Gen era 1 to 7, and then from 7 to 11, and then 11 to 14. The top two in each of those polls got into the final poll, like the 1A poll, and then the third place guys from each of them, one of the four polls, got to go from 9 to 12 to see if who would make the top 10 and all that. Now there actually were a few third place votes that did not really make sense to me, and I put some fourth placers too, like to tie. Anyhow, so let's take a look at the top 10. So anyway, there was actually a three-way literal tie for 10th. So anyway, yeah, because you see the poll that they're all were tied. Hunter was in the 9 and 13 poll, but he missed. So he's not there. So here we go. We're gonna go. Okay, we do the fingers. Number 10 is three bad boys: Wills, Drew, and Craig. Why are they immature? Well, Wills in Degrassi High, even though he lost his uh, adopted parents in Degrassi Junior High season 3, he started going downhill. And by Degrassi High, all he was basically lying to his grandmother, got himself kicked out, and then he stayed with Joey, but then swiped money from Joey's mom. And, Snake put him out on the porch and all that. But Wheels does, by Showtime, the Claude episode, try to redeem himself and all that, saying that he's on the way back. Wheels is a pretty good mechanic and all that, does well at the garage. But unfortunately, by School's Out, the Degrassi movie that came out in January '92, he's no more than just a drunk guy. Likes to get drunk. He says he's going to go to Calgary with his new girlfriend Karen, and everything will be fine. Unfortunately, though, Wheels gets behind the wheel of a car, and all of a sudden, he decides to drive drunk and crashes the car that had him and Lucy, because Lucy wanted chips, into the back of a car and killed a 2-year-old. And basically, he was done for. He was given a 9-year jail sentence. Drew was immature because at times it seemed that Audra was doing the dirty work for him and he wanted Becky too much. I feel that Drew wanted to try to talk to his mom and all that, but was afraid of what she would do to him. So basically, Drew kind of hid behind Audra, with the whole hazing thing. A lot of people thought that Drew just basically used his mother to get his own way and get Riley kicked off the team and all that. And Drew said it wasn't because of his homosexuality, it was because, I'm a quarterback and so is he. I was competing. Yeah, it seemed that Drew, you know, what basically was a mama's boy and all that. Audra didn't help matters by threatening Snake with shit. Drew did get a concussion and then he started acting weird and all that, but it was never properly diagnosed. He finally does get defends himself in front of his own mother, but his relationship with Bianca, like he wanted to Bianca because they went through so much together and all that. And then Drew went after Becky, who was with Adam, because I think Drew wanted to have the connections, even though Becky had a lot of problems. And then you have Craig. Well, season 2, you got to give him a pass because of his father's abusive behavior. But by seasons 3 and 4, he basically was manipulating girls and all that, especially Manny and Ashley with that love triangle. And then, you know, yes, he's bipolar and all that, but he could be caring a little bit more about things with Ashley. And then, when Ashley left for England to be with her dad, Craig went off the deep end, didn't take his meds, and was basically missing. He was in the boiler room for a certain moment of time. It feels that, like Ashley just wanted to leave Craig high and dry, which was stupid because, Craig really needed Ashley and all that. But someone who did make the list and not in a tie is number 9, Zoe. Degrassi dudes, need I say more? So Zoe was portrayed as this character who got under Maya's skin and all that, and basically cyberbullied Maya. Maya fights back with a song, but she gets a lot of trouble. She gets suspended, and Snake throws her into the rubber room, right back into Sig's arms, as it seems. So basically, Sig was a jerk to Maya and all that, and we can thank Snake in a sense for that. But this isn't about Sig. Well, and then Zoe basically cried crocodile tears to Maya's mom, who dropped the case against her. So anyway, Zoe was after Miles, whereas Maya wanted to be with Miles and all that. And then, Sig wanted to be with Zoe to stick it to Maya and all that. But yeah, Zoe then got taken advantage of by Luke Baker and Neil. But the feeling is that, Zoe got her just desserts. She got it. But then in season 14, she sets up Degrassi Dudes because they need money for new uniforms. Really? Degrassi? Is there any other way to get better uniforms? But no, they post provocative pictures of them. And Zoe basically wants everyone to do their part. Frankie walks away. And then Zoe basically kicks her out and basically says that, you can't go to your dad or go to the cops because you're just as involved. And basically, Zoe blackmails Frankie with pictures and all that. It's a picture of cat and mouse. Zoe gets kind of exposed because of Winston, who wanted Frankie back on the squad and all that. Zoe then realizes she has to go back. She has to confess to everything, so she does, and she faces up to 5 years in jail unless she does something to make everyone like her and all that. She was. I think her trial was going to be major and all that, but then there were rumors that Degrassi was about to end after 14 seasons, and then Zoe would probably get her just desserts. But then, next class came and no mention of her storyline. They basically tried to make her humanized with a gay storyline. I don't know why. So there was actually a three-way tie for sixth and a three-way tie for third. First and second are first and second. Okay, so how do I figure this out? Okay, here's how I do it. Okay, I always break ties myself. Number 8 is KC. Reason being is because he dumped Claire off in season 9 and then he went with Jenna. Well, Jenna was a boyfriend stealer, but then it seemed that he didn't want to be in his baby's life because even though that he got Jenna impregnated, Casey wasn't willing to have to have anyone know that he got Jenna pregnant, and basically went off with Marisol and you know blamed Jenna, saying, "You told me to play basketball." Casey was an immature jerk. Well, season 8, he was basically the new classes era of Sean, the troubled bad boy that was smart, but his past just clouded his judgment. So yeah, Casey and Claire were decent, and then Jenna steals Casey from underneath Claire's nose. I think Claire wanted to mold Casey just like Emma wanted to mold Sean. But anyhow, Casey and Jenna are a nice couple and all that. But unfortunately, though, Casey gets Jenna pregnant and doesn't want anything to do with the kid and all that. It takes Jenna being on a teen event to basically tell the world that she's pregnant with Casey's kid. And Casey's embarrassed because now he has to admit to his mom that he got a girl pregnant. Although Jenna gets advice from Casey and his mom to help out, it just doesn't work out that way. Casey then is with Jenna, tries to support her and the kid, but then Marisol pops in out of freaking nowhere. Marisol thinks that after Casey was lamenting over his problems with Jenna, that Marisol thinks that Casey wants to get rid of Jenna, so she manages to sneak Casey from underneath Jenna's nose, which was karma to some people. But yeah, Casey just didn't show a massive involvement in his child's life and until it was too freaking late. And he failed. And then he and his mom left for Vancouver because, Casey's dad was getting out of jail and was looking for both of them. Number 7 is Frankie. Basically her next class era, her new class era. Her racist poster and not taking accountability for things and being a Hollingsworth. It's kind of weird that I thought Hunter would definitely be top 10, but no, it's not. But yeah, Frankie basically was a Hollingsworth and all that. And she had rose tinted glasses. I mean, a lot of politicians carry dark secrets, and the families have dark secrets too. All that, but yeah, Frankie was exposed in by Zoe and Degrassi Nudes, but Frankie wasn't the bad guy here. And anyhow, next class season 2 really saw a lot of people hate on her. So they decided to make a poster getting mad at Northern Tech because Northern Tech had pulled the fire alarm and everyone in Degrassi had to get out and the girls were almost shirtless and all that. So they wanted to get them back, so they do this poster. Everyone laughs at the poster. Unfortunately, though, Northern Tech does not laugh at the poster, saying it was racist and refused to play Degrassi in volleyball. Frankie doesn't know why such a bad idea. I mean, a lot of them, especially Shay, even are on Frankie's side. But then the Northern Tech captain gets on Shay's case, saying that you don't see the racism and all that. And then after talking to her dad, Shay realizes her faults, and then basically everyone on the volleyball team turns on Frankie, kick her off the team, and expect Snake to do something about it. But Snake doesn't, and they're mad at Snake because of the racism and all that. I mean, basically the volleyball team saw the opportunity to get out of the mess by putting Frankie under the bus. That's pathetic. So anyway, yeah, Frankie tries to apologize but can't. She can't find the right words, and that's trouble. So Frankie, tries to blame other people and all that, but they want Frankie punished worse. So yeah, they go after Snake, saying we want a throwback Thursday. Everything blows up at Snake and Frankie. Frankie decides to run off because nobody likes her. But then when a black guy helps her out on the side of the road, Frankie realizes she's wearing rose tinted glasses and then makes these steps, the positive steps to make sure everyone likes her and all that. I mean, it's the pressure of Hollingsworth. Like it or not, I think that Mr. Hollingsworth put the pressure on Snake to behave because, I mean, after all, he has 3 kids in the same school. He wants to build Degrassi a new wing. I think it's nepotism. And, he probably put the pressure on Snake to allow Hunter to come back to school after his incel incident, Miles after the fire, and Frankie the racist poster. I think Snake was scared to piss off the mayor. Fight me on that. Number 6 is Sig, who did not do as well as I thought he would. But yeah, Sig was very immature. He basically was chasing after Maya, and even though, he was with Maya, it seemed like Sig and Maya were not a perfect pair. They were very toxic. And the fact is that, after Maya and Sig break up, he tries to ruin Maya by going with Zoe and all that. It's basically his jealousy of Cam. So in season 12, Cam and Maya seem to be a perfect pair. Cam's this hotshot hockey prospect from Kapuskasing, about 10 hours northwest of Toronto. And to state that, yes, he's staying there, but the Icehounds were not a Degrassi school. They were a major junior team, which is a feeder into the NHL and NCAA hockey for that matter. I mean, as someone who lives in Kitchener, Ontario, and the Kitchener Rangers and all that, and we have people from all around Ontario come to Kitchener and all that to play for the Rangers. So that's what happened. But anyway, yeah, Sig wants to be with Maya, but then he sees Cam. He gets Cam unglued, in front of Maya. However, Cam apologizes to Maya, and Maya feels sorry for Cam. And then Sig sees Cam waiting for Maya to give back her stuffed owl Hoot. And then he basically said, "Stay out of Maya's life forever." And unfortunately, Cam does the exact thing. He offs himself in the JT York greenhouse. A lot of people said he slashed himself. A lot of people said he drank chemicals. Well, I said that. Or even, I don't know, he bludgeoned himself. But the fact of the matter is that possibly he took gardening chemicals and then under the influence, he offed himself in bloody gore. Regardless of that, Sid kind of gets Maya back, gets Maya. However, Maya becomes with Miles in season 13, and Sig does have the jealousy. And the worst part is with Maya now in the rubber room with Sig, all the feelings of Sig's jealousy that he wants to be with Maya come through. Maya and Miles break up at the end of season 13, and then Sig stomps in to be with Maya, takes advantage of Maya's uneasiness by, he was dealing drugs and then and he gets kicked out, and Maya has to support him. Maya just has a lot of problems. Sig really did not want Maya to be happy with another guy and all that. Even in the season 14 summer movie, he shows some jealousy. He kind of gets Maya so unglued she fails her lifeguard test to be with Miles. And so she tries to be that nanny for the producer, gets the job when Gloria leaves, and then Sig causes Maya to blow her chance by talking to her, trying to, backtrack. And then guess what? Sig and Maya end up being together at the end. I mean, Sig couldn't take Esme. I mean, Esme was a prick. I would say she was immature, but she was more. I don't think she was really immature. I think she was more toxic. All right. So how to break the three-way tie for third? Okay, I am going to go with number 5 is JT. Yes, I know that this would be costly, but JT was there. Seasons 1 to 4, he was basically a bad guy and all that. Very immature. He wanted to be comic relief. And that's what a lot of people said. He was comic relief and all that. And he basically treated Toby badly and dumped off from Toby in season 3. And Toby tries to get on Jimmy's good side by trying to change Jimmy's grades with the school computer, which gets him in trouble. And then season 4, JT's not with Toby. JT goes after Danny, as in Liberty's brother, as a best friend. And that leaves Toby to be easy prey for Rick. And everyone knows Rick should never have been, there. But the fact of the matter is that Toby befriends Rick and all that. And JT gets mad at Toby for that stuff. Toby does say that he didn't know that Rick would be such a psycho and all that. Well, Toby kind of knew what he did to Terry. But the fact of the matter is that JT gets a dressing down from Manny and then he realizes his mistakes. So, yeah, he was very immature. Season 5, I don't think he was that immature. I mean, season 5 and 6 with the whole Liberty Mia JT love triangle. I mean, JT was trying to make things work between him and Liberty in season 5 when Liberty had the baby and all that. Unfortunately, the writers made Liberty look like the bad guy and JT look like the good guy, even though JT was selling drugs. But it wasn't all JT's fault with the drugs. It's that damn devil on the shoulder, aka Jay. He was a prick. He was more toxic than immature. So yeah, so JT wised up a bit, but then they killed him off. Pathetic. Number 4 is Joey. Who won the Degrassi High poll? But yeah, Joey number 4. I think that Joey's immaturity was huge, especially on his on again and off again relationships with Caitlyn, especially in the Degrassi High thing. I don't think too much into Degrassi Next Gen. He was immature. He was trying to be a better person, but Caitlyn was being kind of weird and all that, which is unusual. So Joey, would get himself into a lot of schemes and all that. He was so manipulated and all that Wheels' adoptive parents did not want Wheels anywhere near Joey. Fair enough. And then that's when Joey gets Wheels there at the start of season 3 of Degrassi Junior High, and that's when Wheels' parents die. And then Wheels beats up Joey, saying, I should have been in that car with them. I should have went to the movies with them. Why? Because you would have died too. Joey's immaturity was not brutalized, but his thing with Caitlyn and being very immature, especially with schools out. How Joey and Caitlyn kind of broke them up, and then Joey and Tessa came around. And a lot of people thought Tessa was a one-shot character, but she wasn't. Tessa Campanelli inadvertently caused the Degrassi Junior High fire alongside Scooter. Remember those characters? I don't think so. But anyway, yeah, Joey goes with Tessa, and then all of a sudden Caitlyn wants to be with Joey. So Joey thinks he can pull it off by dating both Tessa and Caitlyn at the same time. Unfortunately, though, his plans go for crap. Tessa should have told Joey that she was pregnant with Joey's kid because then, Joey would have had to step up to the plate. A lot of people said Tessa probably didn't have the abortion, that she kept the kid, but I think she would have had an abortion. But then, Caitlyn is upset when she finds out that Joey was with Tessa through Snake and says, You fucked Tessa Campanelli? Joey tries to fix the situation, but he fails miserably. Him and Caitlyn just have a lot of problems. Number 3 is Tristan. Tristan, I think by season 13, in that whole storyline with Yates, then he started, his true colors showed up. He was okay as a chubby gay guy. Remember, he was chubby at once, and then he actually lost weight for a guy and then passed out, but he was still skinny. Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, season 13, when Tristan is in love with the new English teacher, Mr. Yates, and wants to have a relationship with him, and Mr. Yates reciprocates it back, he's happy. But then Maya realizes that Mr. Yates is not who he seems to be and is being problematic, and also that Winston could also be next in line. So Maya should save Tristan from the problems, tells on Mr. Yates. Tristan blows up at Yates saying that, you're you're trying to destroy everyone that I like. I actually like Miles and all that. You pick at any boy at Degrassi. Why can't you just stay out of this? So yeah, he was very mad at Maya. Maya says, I had to do something about it. I think it was just the whole Cam situation getting on her. She was trying to protect her friends, but her friends just didn't like it and all that. So Tristan and Maya break off, and then Tristan only becomes Maya's friend by season 14, forcing Maya to grovel to him. That is fucking immature, and you know it, Tristan. And then he's mad when Maya wants to be with Miles, but Maya was worried about Miles because she fears that Miles is going down the steep hill like Cam. Like Maya could have easily just said Cam's name and people would have been like, "Oh, I understand." But no, she kept it quiet and everyone thought she was a nut job. Tristan was a prick, so much so that people were cheering when he was in a coma. I mean, yeah, like okay, fine, but personally, I would be a lot happier if Jay was in a fucking coma. That's the truth. Number 2 is Derek. Um, he was introduced in seasons 5 and 6. He was okay. He wasn't kind of douchey, but then by season 7, he really was douchey onwards. So Derek was introduced as Danny's best friend by season 5 after JT moved on from Danny. And he did advise Liberty to make a memory chest for their adoptive child as they were headed to Seattle. The kid was moved to Seattle because Derek was adopted too, and his mother did that for him. Season 6, the whole thing with Perino. Perino was right that Derek and Danny should be paying attention in class more. Like the spilled coffee and all that. I think they apologized and all that. You move on. But no, Perino just had to be a giant dick. And by that, when Derek and Perino are waiting for a bus or something, like Derek talks to Perino. Normally, Perino basically threatens Derek, and then Snake blows a gasket at Perino. Perino tries to be nice to Derek, but it's obvious that Perino does that to try to get Snake off his back. But Derek goes after Perino, and so does Snake. Perino, I think, had to take some time off by Hatzilakos' thing because he wasn't really in episodes for a little bit of time in season 6 and 7. I think Derek I think that, Perino had problems. And, we sympathize with Derek. Yeah, he did some bad stuff, but Perino basically stepped out of line with his threatening and all that. They wanted to make like a teacher become more of a bully. But he was worse than Quan if they were making Quan into a bully. And Radich as a teacher, he wasn't that bad. I mean, he wanted to support Joey. But the fact of the matter is, by season 7, it was just terrible. When Derek and Danny compete for the affections of Rachel, the Lakers student, Derek does something really stupid. He frames Danny for robbery, and it has racist undertones to it. And, they stop being friends for a little bit, but then they come back. But then Derek did some more war stuff with Danny while chasing Leah Chang. And that was it. Danny breaks off from Derek, and Derek does a. And let's not forget about Jane in season 8. That basically he harasses Jane and doesn't get a and gets away with it because Shep says, "Jane, I'm not supposed to give you preferential treatment." That's not preferential treatment. That's trying to help Jane out. But obviously, that was one of his many missteps as principal, and basically, Jane stops being on the football team after Shep, well, gets caught at a guard. Even Derek walked out on the Shep, which was a shocking move, but he still was a prick. And the most immature person, number one, is Peter by far. Everyone figures it has to be Peter, and I think it is. It has to be Peter Stone. Peter just basically used his white boy privilege to get what he wanted, to screw over girls and screw over guys. Peter was introduced in season 5 as the love interest of Emma, who says that Peter's the first guy I liked since Hurricane Sean blew through my emotional trailer park. And of course, she likes Peter so much she goes to a party, one of Peter's parties with Manny. Manny is treated terribly by Emma in a sense, but Emma does check up on Manny when she was coming close to Peter, but Manny says she's fine. Peter then takes Manny to his apartment and Manny flashes him. He takes the video and basically likes it so much. He decides to tell everyone about Manny's escapades and all that. Manny realizes her mistake. Peter frames Manny for $3,000 unless you want this shown to the whole school. Manny can't get the $3,000. Peter does his end of the bargain, and everyone in Degrassi knows. Hatzalakos, as it seemed, kind of shamed Manny for this, which was plain stupid because Peter was behind this whole thing. Unfortunately, it gets Manny kicked out of her house because her father did not like the way she played things out. And basically, Manny's mother was a bit submissive. In some cultures, that's what it is, but that's pathetic. Bullshit. You're in Canada. Treatment. Fair treatment, please. But anyway, yeah, Manny's lives with Emma, Spike, and Snake because she has nowhere to go, and Emma feels sorry for Manny, even though that Emma thought that Manny was just trying to steal Peter from underneath her nose, saying, "I need Peter" and all that. But then she realizes that she wasn't being fair and helps Manny out. But basically, Peter then easily goes towards Emma. Like Manny, he wanted Manny more than Emma, even though Emma wanted him. But basically he manipulates his way out of messes, and Hatzalakos is his mother. And what does she do? She just gives him 6 weeks of detention. Are you pathetic? Like a suspension or an expulsion would help Peter. But because of the whole problems with Peter's home life, with his parents separating and all that, he basically uses it to get what he wants. And Hatzalakos is trying to get Peter's attention and all that. That's pretty much what it is. Fight me on it. But the fact of the matter is that Peter then manipulates himself into Emma's life and then gets Emma to not be herself and go after Peter. And they're a massively toxic couple. Emma has to try to hide the fact she's with Peter, which is like unusual. Peter then gets lucky he stays with Emma through the end of season 5. And then season 6 comes when Sean comes out of the blue. We didn't really have any indications. And then Peter freaks out when Manny says that Emma and Sean have a relationship. So he freaks out. He gets Sean in trouble by planting drugs in his locker. And then he gets Emma because Emma turns on Sean, and they're a couple. Sean and Peter street race for Emma's heart. And of course, Sean's in trouble for hitting that pedestrian. Peter basically uses his white boy privilege, aka his dad, for his to get out of prison with just a slap on the wrist, as in community service. And Emma still swoons over him. Fortunately, though, Jay and Manny remind Emma about the problems that Peter is the toxic one, not Sean. Peter goes one step too far by putting the mask in Emma's locker, and Emma puts two together finally and breaks off from Peter. And Peter then uses his manipulative powers to get Darcy because he knows he can cry crocodile tears to Darcy that everyone mistreats him and all that. And he does that to his mom. Obviously, it's like, how much trouble? I mean, Emma should have forced Peter to come clean to Hatzalakos. Like, that would have been perfect. And then Emma gets her revenge and all that. Of course, Peter freaks with Sean coming back. I think that was a set move by the writers because everyone hated Pema in season 5. But then, Peter manipulates himself with Darcy at times, and Darcy goes up to Kenya. Peter's by himself, and then he's with Mia, tries to get back with Mia's group, but then she goes to Paris, and Peter feels neglected. He does wise up a bit near the end, but just. So, anyway, Peter's very immature, and why Emma was with him, I don't know. It's just the trauma from the whole shooting and the fact that she couldn't have Sean. I mean, after all, she wanted Sean to stay with her in season 6, but then when he moved on to the army, she was desperate. And that was not Emma at all. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond Ado.